All right. Hey, well, it is good to be with you guys once again on this Sunday morning. How you guys feeling still? Wait, good. Awesome. Hey, well, like I said earlier, hey, if you and I haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Johnny. I'm on staff here in Wildlife, and what we're about to do is we're about to head into what we call a time of teaching. So a great way to follow along is with what we call a message note sheet. Should be underneath your chair. Go ahead and wave your hands up in the air if you have one. Awesome stuff. Hey, use that as a great tool to help you follow along as we all pursue God together. You know, as I say that, so many of us in this room, when it comes to pursuing God, we have different thoughts, emotions, different feelings, and that some of us in this room, might be on this side, we might be thinking like, hey, I love this time. I want to pursue God. I want to learn more about Jesus, how I can follow him. Others of us, we might be on the other side and we might go, hey, I don't care about this time. This is not what I look forward to. This is my first time. My parents dragged me out of bed this morning. Like, I'd rather not be here. Others of us, we might be somewhere in the middle where we aren't really sure about who Jesus is. We still have questions. Hey, wherever we're coming from this morning, as we gather here, we're going to pursue God. We're going to have this opportunity just for the next several minutes as we all gather and ask really good questions as we unpack God's word. So in this time, all I ask is that you just respect this time, meaning you're not going to be a distraction to the people around you. What that looks like is like, hey, don't be talking to your neighbors. Don't be on your phone during this time because you might think you're not being a distraction, but some other people might look at that and they might just get distracted like, oh, what are they doing on their phone? Others of us in this room, for some reason, you feel the need to go to the bathroom 5 times. Like, hey, this is not an opportunity to do that. We're going to gather here so that we can pursue God. So use that note sheet as a great tool, as a great way to follow along. And I'm going to go ahead and pray for us, and we're going to jump right in. Let's go ahead and pray and talk to God. So Jesus, thank you so much that we get to gather here, that we get to be here. We're excited for what you have for us this morning. We ask through the power of your Spirit, would you be with us, be with our hearts? We're incredibly grateful for that so many of us, we got to serve yesterday at CHF, and what a beautiful opportunity that was, not to just serve our communities, but more importantly, to serve you and your kingdom as we say yes to other people and no to ourselves. Jesus, we ask in this time that would you become so much greater so that we can see you as our King and our ruler. Reveal more of who you are through your word this morning. So Jesus, we love you. And it's in your name, amen. Let me start off this time by asking you guys a question. And then after that question, I'm going to give you a situation, a scenario to live this out. So here's the question. Would you rather do the easy thing and get away with it, or do the right thing even if it costs you something? So the question is, would you rather do the easy thing and get away with it, or do the right thing even if it costs you something? Now, here's the situation. Imagine you are walking down the hallway at school, or maybe for you, you are homeschooled, so you might just have a hallway, and you're like, it's been 10 minutes since I started school. I think I'm done for the day. Let's be honest, that's how homeschool works. I'm just joking. But imagine Ariella was like, it's 15 minutes. What are you talking about? But you're walking down the hallway at school, and you look down on the ground, and you see it. You see a crisp $100 bill with Indy's face on it. And you go, whoa, like I need this $100 bill. But in all seriousness, you look down on the ground and you see a crisp $100 bill. No one is around. There are no teachers, no cameras. No one saw you in that moment. You have a decision to make. Are you going to pick it up and put it in your pocket and just continue going to math class? Or are you going to pick it up and return it to its rightful owner? If you don't know who that is, you figure it out. Who does this belong to? The question is, what would you do in that situation? That a lot of us in this room, we might be honest and we might say, I would pick it up and just put it in my pocket. No one's around. Who would know? Others of us, we would try to return it and turn it in. The thing is, if you keep it, no one's going to find out because no one's there to see what happened. But if you turn it in, it's going to cost you. You are going to lose $100. And for some of us in this room, that is the most amount of money we might have ever seen up until this moment. You see, that test right there, in that moment, that is a test of what we call integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one else is around. Integrity isn't about doing the right thing when everyone else is watching, like all eyes are on you. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. And as we continue this series we started last weekend, we started this series called Plot Twist, where we've been looking at the story of Joseph. And this story is a wild, epic story that is full of different twists and turns. It's full of a lot of different plot twists. Now, if you weren't with us last week, a plot twist is simply this. It's that when the story takes an unexpected turn, that so many of us in this room, we are living our lives and they are full of plot twists where we think life is going this way and boom, a plot twist happens and life changes dramatically. What we've been looking at in this story found in the first book of the Bible known as Genesis, we've been looking at Joseph's story, and Joseph's story is full of plot twists. If you weren't with us last weekend, Joseph is his dad's favorite son because he was given to his dad and to his mom later on when his parents were incredibly old. And his brothers, his 11 other brothers, hated Joseph for this because he had his dad's favor. And if you were with us last week, you'll remember that Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. Now, some of us in this room, if we weren't here, you might think, oh, betrayed, like an April Fool's prank, or like, they tied his shoelaces together or his sandals together and like shoved him down the stairs. Like, that's dramatic. No, like he was deeply betrayed, so much so that he was thrown down a well by his brothers and then sold off into slavery. And then they lied to their dad saying that Joseph was devoured by an animal. Like, this is a dramatic, intense story full of different plot twists. And what we're going to see this morning as we continue, we're going to see that, man, Joseph chose the right thing to do, that he is faced with temptation and he is going to choose integrity. And what we're going to see, integrity is doing the right thing when it's going to cost you, when no one else is around. So if you guys have a Bible with you, we're going to be opening up to the first book in the Bible known as Genesis, and we're going to be in chapter 39. And we're going to be starting at verse 1. So as you guys are turning there, there's what we call a table of contents in the first couple of pages of every Bible. Use that as a great tool to help you find Genesis, but Genesis is one of the easier books to find because it's the first book. So if you just start turning a couple of pages, boom, you're in Genesis. Find chapter 39 and you'll be right there. And we're going to be starting in verse 1. All right, give me a thumbs up if you're there. You're still turning there. I hear some pages turning. We have these Bibles in the back for a lot of you to borrow and use, but we want to encourage you and remind you, hey, bring your own Bible. They're like super cheap on Amazon. You can get them like $5. For whatever reason, you're like, hey, I can't afford that. Talk to me, talk to Ryan, talk to Indy. We'll figure something out. You need a Bible to help you follow along. So Genesis chapter 39, we're going to be starting in verse 1. Now, if you're still turning there, I want to pause for a minute before we jump in. Now, this story we're going to look at is an incredibly intense story. So much so that I sent an email out to your parents a few days ago letting them know, hey, this is the story we're looking at in Joseph's story, because it is an incredibly interesting story. A lot of craziness happens. Some stuff that's kind of inappropriate happens, but Joseph chooses the right thing to do and it costs him something. So much so, we're going to see that Joseph chooses the right thing to do and he gets thrown into jail for it. So we're going to be in Genesis chapter 39, starting in verse 1. And as we're still turning there, hey, I just want to say, hey, as we're reading this story, some of you might kind of get a little uncomfortable. Some of you might go, whoa, what are we talking about? All I ask is, hey, you don't disrespect this time, all right? This is an important story and it's a wild story. So we're going to be starting verse 1. It says this: Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. So kind of like, Potiphar is kind of in charge of maybe Pharaoh's army or something like that, of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. So remember, Joseph's brothers sold him for around $200 into slavery. And they're like, see ya, Joseph, goodbye. And now these Ishmaelites who bought Joseph are now selling Joseph into slavery, into Potiphar's house. So Potiphar is going to become his master. Now, verse 2, the Lord, anytime you're reading the Bible and you see Lord, all capital letters, that is meaning it's Yahweh, this personal relationship name for God, that as we pursue God, we get to know him on a personal level. So Yahweh was with Joseph. If you have a pen with you, that is a big thing to understand. Underline that. The Lord was with Joseph. So the Lord, Yahweh, was with Joseph so that he prospered and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that Yahweh, the Lord, was with him and that Yahweh gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. So Joseph got this huge promotion. He was bought as a slave, and now he's really has high responsibility, high honor, high trust with Potiphar. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. This is a big deal. Like, whoa, imagine if his brothers could see Joseph now. From that time, from the time he put him in charge of his household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So everything Potiphar owned, everything he touched, everything he saw that was his, like it was blessed by God, not because of Potiphar, but because of Joseph's integrity, his following pursuit of God. So Potiphar left everything he had to Joseph's care, and with Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. So this is a big deal. Joseph got this huge promotion, and he has this high trust with Potiphar. That's a really big deal. Now, Joseph was well built and handsome. So this guy's good looking, all right? And after a while, his master's wife, so this is Potiphar's wife, took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." All right, taking a little plot twist there. But he refused. Underline that word refused. So Joseph sees this and he says, "Nope, I'm not going to do that." He says, but he refused. With me in charge, he told her, "My master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing?" Do me a favor, underline that word wicked. How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? So Joseph is saying, like, hey, if I do this, I'm not just going to be sinning against my master, against Potiphar. Ultimately, I'm sinning and rebelling against God. And he's like, how could I do that? I'm not going to do that. And although she spoke to Joseph day after day, like, notice this, like, she is trying to do this all the time. He refused, underline that word refused again, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. So he is trying to avoid her at all costs. One day, he went into the house to attend to his duties, to go back to work, to do some stuff, and none of the household servants was inside, so no one else is around. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. So Joseph is like, I got to get out of here. Like, he's out of there. And then verse 13, when she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us, to make fun of us, to use us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." So again, like, that is not what happened. She is twisting what happened to gain for herself. And again, that's just not what happened. She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home, until her husband came home. And then she told him this story. "That Hebrew slave you brought us came to me to make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." So she is lying left and right. She seems like a lovely lady. When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me. He burned with anger." So Potiphar is pissed off. He burned with anger. Joseph's master, Potiphar, then took him, put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. So notice this. Joseph at the beginning, man, he got a huge promotion. Like, man, he is making money. Like, probably not, but like he is having a huge promotion. And then out of nowhere, this huge plot twist. Joseph did the right thing and it cost him everything he had. Let's continue. But while Joseph was there in prison, the Lord was with him. Underline that. The Lord was with him. So notice God was with him when things were going really well, but God is still with him when things are so bad, he's in prison. He is starving, he is cold, he is tired, he's probably been beaten. But while Joseph was there in prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord, Yahweh, was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. So notice this, 3 times. The text says that God was with Joseph. When things were going really well, when things got really terrible, and then things kind of got a little bit better again, God was still with Joseph. But hey, that's our story for this morning. And man, what a wild story, full of twists and turns, and a lot of stuff happened. One of the main themes here we see in this part of the story is that as Potiphar's wife, again, what a lovely lady, Potiphar's wife, as she tried not just once, not just twice, but multiple days, this has probably been going on for a while, tried to tempt Joseph. Joseph chose integrity. So what I want to do with our time is I want to unpack this further with what we call the big thing. Your first fill-in on your note sheet is this big thing. Integrity is choosing to do what's right even when it costs you. Integrity is choosing to do what's right even when it costs you. Now, Wildlife, what we're going to talk about this morning when it comes to integrity is probably the most, if not the most important topic we will ever talk about in Wildlife. So I'm so glad you're here because integrity is one of those things that matters a lot. Not because I'm saying this, but because it becomes part of who you are, your character. That integrity flows out from your character, that all of us in this room, we have character, whether it's good character, bad character. Character at its core is who you are. More importantly, who you are when no one else is around. How are you acting when your parents aren't around? How are you acting when eyes aren't on you? How are you acting when your teacher leaves the room for 5 minutes? Character matters a lot, and integrity is choosing to do what's right, even when it costs you. So let's unpack this further. Your next fill-in, number 1, is this. Let's unpack integrity. Integrity shows up in private. Integrity shows up in private. We see here in the story that God was testing Joseph to see, hey, are you going to choose to do the right thing even when no one else is around? And, Joseph is just a guy. I think sometimes when we read the Bible, we see what we call heroes of the Bible. We see like Joseph, Moses, David. We see all these stories, these characters in the Bible, and we just assume, man, they are heroes. They can do no wrong. That is just not true. They're just people. And like people, I know people, you know people, because we're all people. I'm sure there's maybe a part of Joseph that when Potiphar's wife was going to him, I'm sure he had a thought in his mind like, well, no one's going to know. Because I think that's what humans do, that when we're tested with something where no one else is around, when we have a decision to make, we might go, well, no one's around. Like, who's going to know? Like, I might not get in trouble because no one's going to find out. But Potiphar's wife kept trying to tempt Joseph. But what we see here is that Joseph didn't choose the easy way. He chose the right way. He chose following God to do what God wants him to do instead. I love how Jesus describes this responsibility. It's there on your note sheet. In Luke chapter 16, verse 10, Jesus says this, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Now, in the context here, Jesus is talking about being good stewards of your finances, like using your money well with wisdom rather than like, you know what, I need Starbucks again. It's like, really? It's the 5th time. Like, okay. But he's also talking about how to live a life of responsibility. And I would say, man, this is Joseph's story. That Joseph is following God. He's trying to do the right thing. He is living a life of integrity. And man, a huge plot twist. He gets thrown into prison. And integrity is like that. It's a test in private that some of us in this room, maybe we've been there. We've had a decision to make. Maybe it's a silly example where you're walking down the hallway at school and you see a $100 bill or you see something that's not yours and you go, I want that. No one's around. No cameras are on. No teachers are there. Like, who's going to know? Or maybe some of us in this room, it's an example like this. You're taking a test and the answers are right there on your friend's paper and the teacher isn't looking. And you have a choice to make. Are you going to look at your friend's paper and see all the answers? Or are you going to try to be living a life of integrity and not do that? Or maybe for you, it's you're home alone with your phone and you know you could look at something you shouldn't. No one's going to know. You know how to clear the search history. Like, no one's going to know. Others of us, maybe it's your friends start trash talking someone from school and you have to decide if you're going to join in or not. No one's around. Like, no one's going to know. Or maybe for you, you could lie to your parents about what really happened and they'd probably never find out. Like, integrity, it happens in private. It happens when no one else is around. And these moments, honestly, might feel small, but integrity is proven in private. Who are you when no one else is around? All right, so that's number one. Number two is this. Integrity may cost you something. Integrity may cost you something. I don't know what it could be, but it's probably something that matters a lot to you. Integrity may cost you something. That for Joseph in this story, him doing the right thing, especially when no one else is around, got him thrown into prison. Man, that's hard. That's terrible. Like, you read that and you go, that's not fair. And you are right. That's not fair. He was doing the right thing and he was thrown into prison for doing that. But the thing is integrity isn't about what's being fair. Integrity is about doing the right thing no matter what. That's what integrity is. Integrity is doing the right thing no matter what. I love this verse in 1 Peter. Peter is one of Jesus's closest disciples. He wrote this book. He says, but even if you should suffer for what is right, you're thrown into prison, you're made fun of, your stuff is taken away. Even if you suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Now, I think some of us, when we think of the word blessed or blessing, we think everything's going right. God blessed me. I have all this stuff. Everything's going right. And sometimes blessing can look like that. But biblically, at its core, blessing is, man, you have God's favor. I like to describe it like this. You're doing the right thing. You're trying to follow Jesus. Yeah, you stub your toe once in a while, but you are trying to follow Jesus and become more like him. And God will bless you. And I think of it like this. God looks at you and he's like, wow, that is my son. That is my daughter. I am proud of them. I think of it like this, kind of like, God's our father. He looks at us like a proud dad and goes, wow, look at them. Like, that's what I think biblical blessing can look like. But he says, even if you should suffer for what's right, you're blessed. Peter, in this context, is encouraging Christians who are being mistreated, being persecuted for living righteously, for doing the right thing. And he's encouraging them like, hey, even if you suffer, even if you go through trials, even life gets crazy, man, God's still with you. You are still blessed. Joseph chose integrity by running away from the situation, and it cost him to go to prison. Now, some of us in this room, we need to choose integrity. We need to. It's not a game we should play with, because the cost of following Jesus is too high. That it may cost you something. For some of us, it might cost you a friend. You're going to choose to live a life of integrity, to do the right thing. It might cost some of your friends at school to go, dude, you're lame. I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. Or they might even make fun of you. They might bully you. It might cost you popularity. You might not be the most popular person at school anymore if you choose integrity. Or it might cost you from being included with other people. But integrity matters so much that for some of us, maybe it's you refuse to cheat on a test and your friends get mad at you because you wouldn't give them the answers. Now, if you were me and you were cheating off of my test and you failed, I would go, yeah, why are you cheating off of my paper? Like, I'm sorry, we both failed, but you shouldn't have done that. Others of us, maybe it's your friends are making fun of someone, and when you decide not to join in, they start making fun of you. They're saying, hey, you're being too sensitive. Or others of us, maybe we have a group chat with a bunch of friends, a bunch of friends from school, people that we know, and maybe it's a situation like this. Someone sends something inappropriate in a group chat, and when you don't respond, people make fun of you. They think you're being lame. And man, for those that follow Jesus in this room, that say we are a Christian, man, it's hard following Jesus at a public school and honestly, even at a private school. And some of us in this room, we try to do the right thing. We're like, I think this is what Jesus would want me to do. And people at school make fun of you. Oh, you're that Christian. Oh, you love Jesus so much. Like they mock you. That happened to me when I was in middle school and high school. And that's hard. And some of us, we might feel the temptation of kind of like lean in and be like, yeah, whatever. Jesus is whatever. Yeah. But man, if people don't know at school that you love Jesus, that you go to church, like, are you really living your life as you actually follow Jesus? Like, if people are surprised that you follow Jesus, it's kind of like, oh, that's not good. You're like, oh, you're a Christian? Yeah, I am. Like, really? I never would have guessed that, because how you talk to people, how you treat teachers at school, how you I never would have guessed that. That would be terrible. Or maybe for some of us, you tell the truth about something you did wrong instead of lying, and now you have to deal with the consequences. Man, integrity is hard, but it might cost you something. Integrity isn't always easy. And the reason for that is because following Jesus isn't always easy. But Wildlife, look at me. It's always worth it. Following Jesus is not easy. If someone told you it would be easy, like they lied to you. It can be hard. It can be challenging, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it. Listen to this. Doing the right thing may cost you something now, but doing the wrong thing will cost you so much more later. Integrity might cost you something. Number 3 is this. Integrity keeps you close to God. Integrity keeps you close to God. If you're sitting here this morning, you're like, Johnny, I want to grow closer to God. I want to follow Jesus more. Like, I want to do this. Live a life of integrity. Do the right thing even when no one else is around, especially when it's going to cost you something. Choose that. Integrity keeps you close to God. I love this proverb. If you're sitting here and you're like, Johnny, I want to become wise. I want to become the Gandalf of wildlife. Read the book of Proverbs. You can actually read like a chapter a day in a month, and that's a great way. It's full of wisdom in that. Listen to this. Proverbs 11:3. The integrity, again, doing the right thing, the integrity of the upright guides them. So those that follow a life of integrity try to follow Jesus by doing the right thing when no one else is around. The more you do that, it's going to guide you into living life. We didn't have time, but the second half of this verse talks about, but if you choose dishonesty, like you lie to your leaders all the time, like, it wasn't me, I saw you do it. Like, it's so funny to me that some of you think that, like, you can get away with it. Or like, I saw you punch him. You're like, it wasn't me. Okay. I didn't cuss. Okay, sure. I heard you. You're sitting right next to me. Anyway, but this second half of this verse talks about if you choose dishonesty, your life isn't just going to be hard. Your life is actually going to be full of destruction. And that's an intentional word that the author Solomon said. Solomon is contrasting in this verse how integrity leads people in the right direction, but dishonesty is going to lead to destruction. And guys, I don't want you to live a life of destruction. I don't think any of us in this room have woken up this morning and be like, you know what I want? I want to live a life of destruction. None of us choose that. None of us want that. But as we look at our lives, that's what we're doing time and time again. I love this. The Bible in this passage we looked at earlier keeps repeating this. The Lord was with Joseph. If you choose integrity, you're going to become closer to God. And what's beautiful about this is God's going to remind you through his word that he is always with you. Notice, when Joseph got a huge promotion, God was with him. When he got thrown into prison, God was with him. He is always with Joseph. And the truth is that God is always with you. Even if you don't feel it, even as you look around in your life and you're like, this is terrible right now, God is still with you, despite anything that goes on in your life. I love, he never lost God, even when he lost everything else. Catch this. If you want to follow God, choose what's right, not what's easy. So as the band comes up, we're going to go through an action step. If you're brand new to wildlife, an action step is basically, hey, how do we live this out? How can we take what we're learning here, that we're discovering here, and live this outside of these four walls. How do we do this? Because Wildlife, if we're here this morning and we're kind of just going through the flow of our week, like on Sundays, I go to church. On Wednesdays, I go to church. Like that's just what I do. But you don't actually try to follow Jesus and do the things he's telling you to do, man, like that's pointless. That's worthless. You're just kind of playing games with God. If you want to live out what we're talking about this morning, here's our action step that you can do on your way home this morning if the situation comes up. Here it is. This week, do what's right, not what's easy. The world, our culture around us, they choose the easy way. Followers of Jesus, we need to choose the right way. That's not always easy. It's hard. It's difficult sometimes, but it's always worth it. Here's a couple of examples. So don't tune out right now. I need you guys to really focus in. Here's some examples for you how you can do what's right and not what's easy. Maybe it's tell the truth, even if it gets you in trouble. Again, this isn't like rocket science. You're like, oh, tell the truth. No idea. Tell the truth, even if it costs you something, even if you get in trouble. Close the app when you know what you're looking at isn't right. Maybe for you, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're on that stupid thing called Snapchat. Like you're on these social media apps and you keep scrolling and scrolling until one thing kind of catches your attention and you go, oh, no one's around, your parents are at work. No one's going to know if you keep doing that. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one else is around. So maybe for you, it's closing that app. It's getting rid of your phone, maybe it's putting it in another room when you're going to bed at night so you're not doom scrolling till 4 in the morning. Like maybe for you, that's what's doing what we all chuckle, but you're doing it. And if you really want to follow Jesus, you're going to take this seriously. You're going to do the right thing even when it costs you. Maybe you don't laugh when someone at school is making fun of someone else. You walk away from a conversation you know isn't honoring to God. You refuse to cheat even if everyone else is doing it. That's what's doing what's right, but not easy. So as we go into this last song of worship, I'm going to go ahead and pray for us. But Wildlife, let's not forget what this passage, what Joseph's story can show us. That, man, integrity is hard. It may cost you something, but it's going to bring you closer to God. But integrity is proven in private. Who are you when no one else is around? Let's go ahead and pray. Jesus, thank you so much for your word. And thank you that we get to learn from this, that we get to struggle, we get to wrestle, we get to see what it looks like to live a life of integrity. So Jesus, would you help us? Those of us in this room that say we follow you, that we love you, we're a Christian, we have your very spirit inside of us helping us become more like you. So Jesus, if we need help in this way, would you help us? Would we journal to you? Would we cry out to you? Would you help us live a life of integrity? So Jesus, we love you. And it's in your name we all said, amen. Hey, we're going to go into this last song of worship. So I'm going to invite you to stand on up just where you're at, and let's go into this last song.